Hope everybody's having a great weekend. I had some time and I thought, well, let's have a little chat since we don't do it on Fridays. And normally I really don't do much on the weekend. I try to get myself reset and refreshed and ready, of course, for everything that's be happening on Monday. But a couple things have been going on in the headlines that I just decided, I've got some time. I'm going to comment on it. So, Dean Norris, one of those has been out of work actors that is still desperately trying to be relevant. He played the DE agent on Breaking Bad. He was Bryan Cranston's brother-in-law who finally brought him down, and then, of course, Bryan's associates killed him. Hate to play spoiler alert, but it's been like 10 years since Breaking Bad was on TV, and if you haven't watched the series by now, oh well, I just gave it away. Dean apparently tweeted out that for those of us that are complaining about the gas prices, that if we are capitalists and we are complaining about the gas prices, we need to, quote, shut the F up because we're paying fair market value for a commodity. Again, I've said it before, I will say it again. This is why actors should never, ever just speak off the cuff. They have made their living and their life reading words off of a piece of paper that somebody else wrote for them. And they really don't know when they're finally asked a question or just decide they're going to, quote, tweet their own thoughts and ideas. They reveal how completely empty, stupid, and moronic that they are. And this is just, you talk about incredibly asinine and void of what people are actually feeling, dealing with, and going through. For him to say this, it's just, on the one level, again, it's another unbelievable, let them have cake. I'm an actor, I have residuals, I have investments, I have a retirement, I'm fine. The rest of you, stop complaining. These guys that were tough guys in movies and tough guys on TV, and then they try to talk all tough. Let me help you out here, Dean. Stick to acting, if you can find a gig anymore. Otherwise, leave the real life stuff to real life people. The reason we're dealing with the gas prices, take a look at Obama Biden. Yes, those little stickers on the gas pumps, I did that, and he did. Let's not forget that back in 2019, as the campaign was wrapping up, and of course, old Joe wasn't doing many campaign stops. Remember, he was in his bunker, and you'll never get me to believe that guy got 81 million votes. I will never be convinced of that. But before all of the lockdowns hit, and he went into his bunker mode, his live events, you ever notice where they were? They were like at the cafeteria of a junior high school. They were at like, some barn with some old farmers, and he was constantly threatening old people. There was one old guy who said, "You can't run for president? You're older than I am." And, Joe Obama said, "I'll challenge you to push-ups right now, man." So, there was some place he was, I want to say it was another one of those junior high school cafeterias, when a young girl, probably, 13, 14, not even old enough to vote, asked him what he was going to do about fossil fuel and protecting the environment. And he looked at her and he said, "Kiddo, we're going to put the fossil fuel industry out of business." Bum, ba-dum, No, I'm sorry, Dean. We don't need to be paying these prices at the pump right now. It's not fair market value. We're paying these prices at the pump because the guy who declared war on fossil fuel is now occupying the Oval Office, and he's writing edicts, and he's writing executive orders, and he has shut down things like, drilling, pipelines, oil exploration. Earlier this week, Joe Biden came out and, again, he loves to talk tough. And he's threatening the oil industry that he'll use his emergency powers if they don't pick up the production line and make more. Well, how exactly are they supposed to do that, Joe? How can they produce more oil? You signed all of the executive orders and stripped them of their licenses to be able to drill and to produce more. So you're now telling them they can ignore that? By the way, we haven't built a new refinery in this country since 1970. That's 1970. That's 1970. We have a couple of upgraded, low-capacity, remodeled oil refineries that we've done since 1970. But as far as high capacity, we don't have it. We don't have it. And Joe, we don't have the oil. Remember, you're the one that's been traipsing around the world begging everybody for oil because you're going to lead the world in protecting the environment, and America's going to set the standard by not drilling for oil, by not pumping any new oil. We're going to set the standard to get ready for green energy. In the meantime, you don't mind going to third world countries and allowing their environment to be polluted, their people to get sick, their people to live by refineries and oil wells, etc., etc., etc. You're so full of it, Joe. The problem is there's a part of the American electorate that, for whatever reason, they think that you know what you're talking about, and they listen, and it's beyond ridiculous. Putin said something this week that, of course, has gotten everybody's attention. He's tired of America thinking, quote, it's God's messenger. Now, again, I'm not pro-Putin, so don't start any of that hogwash. But I said to you when the whole Ukraine war broke out, look out, look out, look out. The sanction will hurt us more than Russia, and I was right. And I said before it's over, Russia will have a stronger economy than the United States. Some of you laughed at me. Some of you sent me private messages and said, Pastor Marty, on this one, you really don't know what you're talking about. This takes me back a few years when in 2019, I said on my radio show and on my video blog that the Democrats, in order to beat Donald Trump, would have to tank the economy. Rush Limbaugh took to the airwaves to say, don't listen to these people online and on their single station radio shows saying that the Democrats have got a plan to tank the economy. They can't. The Trump economy is too strong. 1 year later, pandemic, we're shutting businesses down, we're locking things down, we're quarantining people, killed the economy. Rush Limbaugh actually went to the airwaves and issued a retraction and an apology, which I thanked him for. So don't doubt me on this. I told you that these sanctions against Russia would make Russia stronger. And they are. The ruble on the world market trades higher than the dollar. All of these sanctions over their illegal invasion of Ukraine. Can I remind you that Ukraine was actually once part of Russia? Now they broke away. They were recognized as independent. Russia allowed them to remain as independent, but there were a few stipulations. One of those stipulations is that they would not join NATO. What happened? There was leadership in Ukraine that was abiding by all of that. Obama, Barack Obama, number 44, he pulled off a little coup. Once again, we toppled a duly elected government and installed our own puppet government, which opened the door for Zelensky, Walensky, Karpinski, whatever ski, to become the president of Ukraine. And he, because he was the puppet of the United States, pushing Ukraine to go NATO, go NATO, go NATO. On top of the fact that, well, under Zelensky, Karpinski, whatever ski, was bombing states within Ukraine for their Russian allegiance and their Russian ties. And Russia basically said, listen, if you don't stop bombing your own citizens, we're going to bomb you. That is what all of this is about. But of course, Biden and the military-industrial complex and the billionaires needing another payout, and Biden needing to pay back Ukraine for all of the money that Hunter brought home, for all of the influence he was selling, We have this proxy war now that we're involved in up to our eyes. Of course, everybody, including Faux Pas News, formerly known as Fox News, trying to sound patriotic about this, where there are American jet fighter pilots that have been taken captive by Russia, but they were fighting for Ukraine. So you have Vlad Putin saying this week that apparently America hasn't been paying attention, that the world has changed. And I warned you this was going to happen. I warned you that China and Russia would join forces together. And they would create an economy that, I'm telling you, the rest of the world is starting to look at. When American Express and all of these, PayPal and all of these other, conveniences that we have here in the United States, which also do business in Russia, in their show of solidarity and being united against the Russian tyranny of invading Ukraine, they all came out and said, that's it, we'll no longer do business in Russia. So you've got credit card companies that have millions of customers in Russia who ran up debt, and now you're saying you're not going to do any more business there. I'm sure that the new Russian economy isn't going to hold that debt to American Express over the heads of their people. So you stiffed yourself out of your own money, and it just means that the American taxpayer and consumer is going to get stuck flipping yet another bill. In the meantime, you have India about ready to join up with Russia and China, and they will create a parallel economy. They'll have their own versions of PayPal, their own credit cards, etc., etc., etc. And we're being led by a guy who drools on himself, can't stop habitually lying, has an absolute degenerate for a son, and now we're finding out, it's starting to trickle out, why is it we don't ever hear from the daughter, and what has she got to say, and why were there raids pulled off at places looking for her diary? What has she got to say about Joe the sniffer? Was he doing more? I don't know. I'm asking questions, because stuff is beginning to leak out now. We are paying higher gas prices not because of capitalism. We are paying higher gas prices literally because of socialism. Joe Biden wanted to control an industry, fossil fuel, so he could bring in his Green New Deal, his green energy. So he's made it impossible for oil companies to do what they do. Drill, baby, drill, refine the oil, sell the oil. It's any more complicated than that. See Dean, former TV star on Breaking Bad, fat, bald guy who portrayed a DEA agent, thinking you were tough because, if you hit somebody on TV because the script said so, they fell down because that's what the script called for. It doesn't make you tough in real life. It doesn't mean that you're really this badass. It just doesn't. But you think you are. So when you tweet out, you don't like the price of gas, shut the F up if you're a capitalist. If you actually understood how these things work, you would know that capitalism is exactly what we need to employ right now to reverse this problem. Just gotta love the wind on a windy day. And of course, when you're live, there's no way to edit that out. You can't have restrictions and then wonder why we're getting gouged like this. Capitalism would fix the problem. How? Because we would let them drill. We would let them do oil exploration. We would let them build refineries. We would let them produce. It's an amazing thing. It's called supply and demand. You know how the prices come down? When the supply exceeds the demand. You know why the prices are high right now, Dean? Because apparently you didn't even take basic economics in college. You know why the prices are high right now, Dean? Because demand is exceeding the supply. There's more demand than they're able to keep up with. And if you think this is capitalism's fault, take a look around. Go to the store. It's not just baby formula. Women are now not able to find certain feminine products. I was reading an article this morning. There's apparently a tampon shortage. And there's a food supply shortage. You know, you want to talk about January 6th. We need to talk about January 6th. Yeah, you know what's happening on January 6th? Gas was about $1.93 a gallon. Store shelves were full. The economy was roaring back because the sanctions were being lifted. The quarantines and the lockdowns were being lifted. People were being furloughed and going back to work. The economy was poised to really take off. That's what was happening on January 6th. So when Obama Biden takes office and he talks about, he brought about the vaccine and the way it was distributed was in place under Trump. It just wasn't widely available in December. It could have been, but we know why it wasn't, right? In fact, right up until the election day, Fauci and all of these pharmaceutical companies didn't even want to admit that they were ready for it to rock and roll. It wasn't until after the election that all of a sudden, poof, it's here. And I don't care what your position is on vaccination or this particular vaccine. The truth is, the issue that Donald Trump could have really used in that campaign to say, we got this thing now, he couldn't use because the pharmaceutical companies kept denying, we haven't got it. As soon as the election was over, poof, we got it. We got it. Really? And now you got Obama Biden, he tries to take victory laps over this happened under my administration. No, it didn't. Well, the way we distributed, we were the ones that got our act together, and we're the ones that got it out there for the mass quantities of people. Trump didn't do that. Wrong. I have heard from people who even work inside the Biden administration. They admit they took the Trump plan, tore the cover page off that had his name on it, slapped a new cover page on it that had Obama's name on it, and that's what they did. They followed the Trump plan to the letter. But then, of course, he wants to talk about, I created 8 million jobs, more than any other bullhawk. You didn't create 8 million jobs. 8 million people went back to work. And they would have gone back to work had there been no lockdowns. This is beyond insane. And of course, the fact checkers don't ever check Joe on that. The media never pushes back on that false narrative. And by the way, for some of you that are posting comments, obviously I can't respond to all of that right now. And again, I am not defending Love Potion number 9. What I'm simply saying, it was an issue that Donald Trump could have used and wasn't allowed to use because it's not ready. But then magically, once the election was so-called decided, well, then all of a sudden, they all came out within, 24 hours of each other. We got it! Just literally days after the election. But there, nobody wants to talk about where the real collusion happens in this country. So we've got our little mock trial going on, so that Liz Cheney can, maybe become a relevant Democrat, because apparently her gig is up as being a trans Republican. She's a Democrat dressed in Republican drag. We've got people out there talking about we're paying high gas prices because of January 6th. The level of stupid in this country is unbelievable. Somebody sent me a video yesterday of apparently, 2 redneck dillweeds, trying to make their own version of the movie Jackass. So the guy's literally sitting on a chair and he's got a paintball gun and he's gonna shoot himself in the lip with a paintball gun, and the guy's filming this. And, and so, you can tell it's taking him a few seconds to work up the courage to pull this trigger. Well, he pulls the trigger, this orange paintball thing explodes across his lips, and all of a sudden he starts screaming like a girl. I mean, screaming. He runs out of the room. The guy with the camera's following him into the bathroom. He's spitting blood into a sink, and there's his front tooth. And he's screaming, "Oh my God, my tooth, what do I do?" And my friend captioned the video, "This is a Biden voter." Yes. Because anybody with an ounce of common sense, anybody that was thinking during the last election cycle, understood that Joe Obama was going to be an absolute disaster. Because it's going to build back better. Somebody who's never built anything can't build anything back better. They can't build it back because they know how to build it to begin with, so they certainly can't make it better. It's amazing how quiet Biden voters are now. Nobody's putting signs on their front lawn, "Hey, I voted for Biden and I'm proud." But everywhere I look, I see all kinds of flags and signs say, "Don't blame me, I voted for Trump." Well, that was my rant for a Saturday. But I can only handle so much BS and bullhawk. And something about when I saw that tweet today about capitalism is the reason we have high gas prices, and so shut the F up. I really hate it when Holly weirdos spout off about stuff that they know absolutely zero about. They live in that bubble out there in Holly weirdo land. And they all have the same political ideology, and they all talk to each other, and they all convince each other how wonderfully smart and brilliant and talented they are. Yeah, okay, whatever. Newsflash for you, Dean. Breaking Bad, it's old news. Old news, old news. That ship sailed. Most of us are on to other shows now. Sorry, bye, Dean, and take your political ideology with you. For the rest of you, have a fantastic, wonderful, awesome weekend. If you live somewhere where the weather's beautiful, get out and enjoy it, and try to forget who's occupying the Oval Office, at least for the weekend.